Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unlock the toolkit for having conversations that actually work. You know, the kind that solve real problems, build genuine connections, and actually move things forward.
So let's just start with this question, because I think we've all been there, right? You walk out of a big meeting or a tough one-on-one, and you just have that frustrating feeling, like you were both just talking past each other, totally stuck on the surface.
Well, the fix isn't about talking more, it's about talking smarter. And that's exactly what this explainer is all about. We're going to build a toolkit that helps us move past all that surface-level noise and get to what's really driving the interaction underneath.
All right, first up, the foundation. So what is it that really makes a conversation great? Well, it all kicks off with something called emotional intelligence. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Oh, that's just a soft skill, right? But it's really not. Think of it as the very practical ability to read a room, to manage your own reactions, and to make really clear-headed decisions, especially when the pressure is on. It is the absolute core of any effective conversation.
And hey, this isn't some newfangled idea. We're talking ancient wisdom here. Even Plato knew that a good decision is about way more than just the numbers. It takes real insight into the human side of things. You know, the motivations and feelings that data can never, ever show you.
Okay, so here's a really powerful way to think about this. I want you to picture an iceberg. This model is just perfect for visualizing emotional intelligence because, well, just like a real iceberg, what you see on the surface is only a tiny fraction of what's really going on.
So, peeking out above the water, you've got the tip of the iceberg. These are all the skills everyone can see, right? How you communicate, whether you can resolve a conflict, how you collaborate with others. It's the stuff that's easy to spot. And this is the whole point, the vast majority of our emotional intelligence is hidden down here, deep below the surface. Our self-awareness, how we regulate our own emotions, our empathy. These are the invisible drivers that are actually powering everything we do and say.
Okay, next up, the engine of dialogue. So if emotional intelligence is our foundation, what's the engine that actually moves a deep conversation forward? Well, it's feedback.
But look, we're not talking about just, random critiques. Effective feedback is a dynamic cycle. It's an engine for improvement. You take in new ideas, you figure out the real root of the problem, you brainstorm solutions, and then you put them into action. And then you start the whole loop over again. It's basically a blueprint for getting better, constantly.
And inside this feedback engine, you've got a toolkit. There are basically three main tools you can use. You've got positive feedback, which is all about reinforcing what's already working. You've got negative or corrective feedback to fix problems. And then there's this cool one called feed forward, which is just laser focused on how to do better next time. Every one of these has its own specific job.
We also have to think about where our feedback is coming from. Internal feedback, from inside your own team or company, gives you those familiar perspectives. But external feedback from other departments or even other cultures, that's what brings in the fresh ideas and really challenges your assumptions. You absolutely need a blend of both to get the full picture.
All right, next section. So we have our foundation of emotional intelligence. We've got our engine of feedback. Now we need a navigator. We need a system to help us steer our thoughts and decisions right in the middle of the conversation.
So it turns out our brains are kind of wired to operate in two main modes. You've got your rational brain. That's the logic, the facts, the data. It gives you what you might call a perceptual truth. And then you've got your emotional brain, which runs on feelings and intuition. That leads to an emotional truth.
And here's the thing. You can't just let one take over. I mean, a conversation that's all logic feels robotic and cold, right? But one that's all emotion can just become, chaotic. The real magic, the most effective decisions happen when you find the wisdom right there in the middle.
And that sweet spot, that perfect balanced overlap, that's what we call the wise mind. It's the place where you integrate what you think with what you feel. This is where the most insightful, the most resonant, and just plain effective decisions get made in any conversation.
Okay, so we have the individual skills down, but here's where it gets really cool. This is about scaling up, taking these personal conversation skills and using them to literally transform entire systems, from a tiny team to a huge organization.
So this journey all starts with group learning. This is the point where a team stops being just a collection of individuals and starts actually learning together. They share knowledge, they apply feedback, and the whole team gets smarter and more coordinated because of it.
And then you take that a step further and you get organizational learning. Now it's not just one team getting smarter, the entire organization as a whole is assembling knowledge. It learns to adapt to change and becomes way more efficient over time.
And then, at the largest scale of all, you get interorganizational learning. We're talking about entire industries evolving because different organizations are sharing ideas and learning from each other's wins and losses. And it all starts with the quality of their conversations.
So why does all this matter? Because here's the bottom line. Productive, meaningful, deep dive conversations, they do not happen by accident. They aren't magic. They are a skill. They are a system that you can actually build from the inside out.
So this is the path. This is the takeaway. It starts with you, understanding your own iceberg, those hidden drivers. Then you fuel your growth with a continuous feedback cycle. You navigate it all by balancing your rational and emotional minds. And ultimately, you can scale that impact from one single conversation all the way up to an entire culture.
And that leaves me with one final thought for you. You have the toolkit now. So what is the one conversation, at work, at home, anywhere, that you could totally transform this week? Where are you going to start your next deep dive?